is going on, guys? Welcome to Guitar Lessons with Scott. I'm Scott, and this is music theory lesson number 1. The very first thing you have to learn how to do, if you want to start to understand music theory, is you have to learn how to identify the notes of the guitar. There's no way around it. You gotta learn how to identify the notes. Not memorize. We're not trying to memorize the whole fretboard. We're just trying to learn how to play a note and know how to identify what that note is. That is what we're learning in this video. And it's pretty simple, but there's if you don't know really anything about this, there's a few new concepts you're gonna have to understand in order to identify the notes. Okay. The very first thing you're gonna have to learn how to do is know what the open strings of the guitar are. And most of you probably already know that, but I'm just going to quickly go over that real quick before we jump into the other stuff. Alright, so there's 6 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when you tune your guitar to standard tuning, their notes, starting from the top string, you got E, A, D, G, B, and E. Okay? A saying I like to use to memorize the notes is elephants and donkeys grow big ears. You just use the first letter of each word, and you got E elephants, A and, D donkeys, G grow, B big, E ears. Okay, so elephants and donkeys grow big ears, E, A, D, G, B, E. Those are the open strings of the guitar. Okay, that's all I'm going to do for the open strings. So now we're going to have to learn some stuff. Okay, so I'd highly recommend, if you're really trying to learn this music theory business, get a notebook just for music theory, get a pencil or a pen, and write down a few important things. It's definitely going to help you out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is what are the notes in music. Okay, so we're pretty much looking at something called the chromatic scale. Not pretty much, we are looking at the chromatic scale, which is just every note that exists. And I'm just going to explain. I'm just going to show you all the notes that exist in music. Okay, so in music you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, pretty simple, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so the only thing you have to remember, really, the most important thing is that B and C and E and F are right next to each other. That is pretty much the only thing you really have to understand to figure this out. But you have to also understand what are the notes in between all the other notes. What are those notes? Well, okay, in music, there's something called sharps and flats. Okay? So in between the notes A and B, there's another note in between there. Okay? And you can either call it an A sharp or a B flat. Okay? Let me show you on the guitar. So, on the 5th fret, on the top string, that is an A note. I know we haven't gotten to how that's an A note yet, but just trust me, that's an A note, okay? So, we have A, and then 2 frets higher, 2 notes higher, we have a B. Okay, so we have A and B. Okay, that note in between, you can either call it an A sharp or you can call it a B flat. When you sharp a note, you raise it. When you flat a note, you lower it. So A sharp, B flat. Okay? So, that's what that means. So we have, when you're going up the notes, it's, A, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, or you can look at it as flats. You can look at it in two different ways, and that's where it gets a little confusing, but stick with me. So, as I wrote down here, a sharp is when you raise a note, a flat is when you lower a note. That little symbol right there is the symbol for a sharp. That symbol right there is the symbol for a flat. Okay? So you got sharps and flats. And so, and also right over here, so you got a whole step is when you go up 2 notes, and a half step is when you go up 1 note. Okay. So like I just showed you, we got this A here. If I go up 2 notes, that's a whole steps. So so A to B, that note to that note is a whole step. If I just go up 1 note, that's a half step. Okay? If I'm here and I go up 2 notes, whole step. If I'm there and I go up 1 note, half step. If I'm here, I go up 2 notes, whole step. Just go up 1, half step. Okay? So that's what that means. That's what a whole step is and a half step is. And okay, so I'm just gonna do some explaining. This is all kind of I'm just gonna be explaining this for a little bit, and then I'm gonna show you on the guitar how to identify. But all this stuff's important. So you got sharps, and you got flats, you got whole steps, and you got half steps. Okay? So like I said earlier, if you remember the B and the C and the E and the F are right next to each other, there's no note in between, which means they're just a half step apart. Okay? And then all the other notes are a whole step. If you can remember this and let this sink in, I'll show you on the guitar later. If you don't understand it fully right now, don't worry about it. But so an A to B is a whole step. Okay? A B to C, half step. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. F to G, whole step. And then G back to A is also a whole step. Okay, so B and C and E and F are right next to each other. They're best buddies. That's very important. Okay? So when you're going up, you got, so don't really think about the sharps and flats anymore. Don't worry about that. Okay? Now, I'm going to go straight to the guitar and show you how this works. Okay. So, all right, so, we're always, so when we're going up this way on the guitar, we're going up the alphabet. So we're going, so we have A here, we're going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're always going up the alphabet. If we're going down this way, we're going to go going down the alphabet. To identify the notes, I think it's much easier to identify of them going up rather than down, but maybe you're different. All right, so what we're going to do, so we're going to go to this top E string, okay? All right, we're on the top E string, and we're going to try and figure out what's going on. All right, so we got this top E, and sort of E note, okay. And we're going to go up this guy, and we're going to identify all the notes, but we're not going to pay attention to any sharps and flats. We're just going to identify the main notes, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're not going to try to identify A sharp or B flat or anything like that. We're just going to identify the main ones. That's it, okay? That's all you have to do to identify the notes. So, I'll try it, okay. So you have E, okay? And we're going to, I'd recommend writing down A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just so you can kind of look at it while you're playing. So we just played an E note, all right? And we're going to try to go to F. All right, so it says that E and F are right next to each other, right? They're just a half step apart. And if you play an open string, you can imagine there's an imaginary fret right there, and we're holding it down there, and we'd be right there. So if we're going E to F, it's just a half step. Okay? So that's where F is. Okay? So now, if we look at this, we're going to try to go to G, right? You got E, F, G. F to G is a whole step apart. Okay? So a whole step is 2 notes. So we're going to go up, bum, bum, 2 notes. Okay? So now we're on G, and now it all starts over and we go back to A. Okay? So we're on G, starts over, we go back to A. Alright, so we're on G, and G to A is a whole step. So we go up 2 notes. There's A. Okay? Now we're going A to B. Okay? So we're on A, we're going B, so what are we doing? We're going to go up a whole step. Okay? So there's B right there. Okay, so now we're going B to C. Remember, B and C are right next to each other. No note in between. So we just go up 1 note. Boom. We got B there. There's C. B, C. Okay. So now we're on C, and we're going to D to be a whole step. So we're here, go up 2 notes as a whole step, right? Alright. And now we're on D, we're on this D, and we're going to go to E. So we're going to go up a whole step. And there's an E way up here on the 12th fret. You probably have 2 dots there on the neck of your guitar. So yeah, so I'm just going to go up that one more time, and then we'll go down each note. And yeah, okay, so we got this open E. Alright, we're going E to F. So it's just going to be a half step. F to G, whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B has A to B is a whole step. B to C, half step. C to D, whole step. D to E, whole step. Okay. So that is how you go up and identify the notes of the guitar. It's really that simple. Alright, so let's drop down to this, the second to top string, which is the open A, and we're going to go up the neck of the guitar. So, starting with an open A, you can imagine we'd be pressing down right here if there was a fret right there on the open string. Okay? So, we're going to go up, so A to B, what is A to B? A to B is a whole step, right? The only ones that aren't whole steps is from B to C and E to F. Everything else is a whole step. So A to B is a whole step. Alright, so we're going to go, so we're here, imaginary fret down here, we're going to go a whole step, so 2 notes, bam, bam. There's B. B to C, right next to each other. C to D, whole step. 2 notes. D to E, whole step, 2 notes. Alright. E to F. E to F is what? A half step, right next to each other. F to G is a whole step, 2 notes. G to A is a whole step, 2 notes. Okay? So, we ended on an A. Started on an A. That's interesting. Okay, so for the sake of this video, we're gonna stop on the 12th fret. You probably have 2 dots there on the neck of your guitar, or something to identify it. And a good way to double check is if you're trying to identify them on your own, and you end on the 12th saying the same note that's the open string, you probably did it right. Okay? It's just a good way to double check. So here's an E. This is an E. Open E, E. Open A, A. Open D, D, G, G, B, B, E, E. Okay? So yeah, so let's drop down to this third to top string. the open D note. Okay, and let's go up the neck of the guitar. All right, we got this open D, and so imagine we're pressing on this fret that doesn't exist. So we're going D to E. D to E is a whole step, so we're going to go up bam, bam. 2. E to F. E to F are right next to each other, just a half step. F to G, whole step. 2. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. B to C, half step. And C to D, whole step. Alright, we ended on a D. It's an open D. Probably did it right. Okay? Cool. So let's drop down to the third to bottom string. It's an open G note. Okay? Alright, so we have our imaginary fret down here. We're going G to A. G to A is a whole step, so we're going to go up 2. Bam, bam. We're on A. A to B, whole step, up 2. B to C, half step, just up 1. C to D, whole step, up 2. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. F to G, whole step. Alright, ended on a G, it's an open G. I did that right. Okay. So, also, you, at this point, you know, you should definitely be pausing the video and practicing going up the strings on your own without me, and then you can rewatch them to double check. That's a good idea. Okay, I'm just going through quickly because there's a lot of material and no sense in making an extremely long video. So here we go. So we just went over the G. So let's go to this B, second to bottom string. Okay? Alright, so what do we got? So we have so we're on this open B note, second to bottom string. So it would be imaginary fret right there. So B to C. B to C are right next to each other, so we're just going to go up 1. C to D, whole step, up 2. D to E, whole step. E to F, half step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. Alright, we ended on a B. It's an open B. Probably did that right. Alright. So, the bottom string is an E. Alright, the top string is an E. So it's going to be the same exact notes as the top string. And we'll just go over what those are one more time. Alright, so we have E. So we have an open E. So it would be imaginary right there. Imaginary fret. E to F is just up half step, one note. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. A to B, whole step. B to C, half step. C to D, whole step. And D to E, whole step. And then on the E, it's an open E. Probably did that right. Okay, so that is how you identify the notes of the guitar. That is the method I would highly recommend using. Now, the one more thing we have to go over is more on the sharps and more on the flats. So, all the notes in between. So when we were going up, we were just looking at where's A, where's B, where's C, where's D, E, F, and G. We didn't focus on any of the notes in between. So the notes in between, like A and B, as I showed you earlier, and I'll go over again, it can either be an A sharp or a B flat. In between C and D, you can call it a C sharp or a D flat. They're the same note, but you can call them two different things depending on how you're looking at it. We'll go over why that is later, but for now you don't need to know. So, in between D and E, you can call that note either a D sharp or E flat. F and G, you can call it a F sharp or a G flat. In between G and A, you can call it a G sharp or an A flat, depending on how you're looking at it. So, I'll go over that more, and we'll take a look at it, alright? So, as I showed you before, so we have, this A note here, and when we go A to B, it's a whole step. That note in between is either an A sharp or a B flat. So let's just think in the terms of sharps. Just right now, all we're thinking of is sharps. So if we were going to think in terms of sharps, we would go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B to C, nothing in between B and C, C sharp, D sharp, E. Okay? So it's not a bad practice if you want to go up saying all the sharps. If we went to A, it would be A sharp on that. If we're hitting every note going up and saying it out loud, and just thinking in terms of sharps, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E and F right next to each other, F sharp, G sharp, A. Okay? So, we're thinking in terms of sharps, so you can do like that, or if you want to practice saying all the flats, you can go. It's a little trickier to think in terms of flats, but we have, so on the top string we got E, F, G flat, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E. Okay? So if you want to go up doing that, it's not a bad practice. But for the most part, what I'd recommend is learning how to just identify the main notes like we did earlier on. And when you have to, and then you can identify the sharps and the flats just quickly by dropping it down or raising it up a note. And I'll show you what I mean. So if someone's like, they're like, hey, what's this note right here? Top string, 4th fret. What's that note? Well, what I would do to identify it is just go E, F, G. Oh, it must be a G sharp. It's a G sharp. Or you could also call it an A flat. Or like, what's this note? Well, that's a A sharp, or you can call it a B flat. Or someone's like, what's that note? 3rd to top string, 4th fret. And you're like, that's a D, E, F sharp. So that's how I'd recommend. That is how I would recommend identifying the sharps and the flats, is just identify the main note, practice going up, just go, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and understand that the notes in between A and B, C and D, D and E, that there's a sharp and a flat in between, and that they're the same note, called two different things. But yeah, I think that's all I got for you. So in the chromatic scale, there's sharps, there's flats, whole steps, half steps. B and C and E and F are right next to each other. So practice on each string. Just There's no rush. Take your time. Take a couple of weeks just practicing this. Just practice going up each string. If you can every day, and just sleep on it, and eventually in no time it'll be real easy for you, and you'll just be able to go A, B, C, D, E, and you'll be able to identify the notes. And once you get good at that, I know you can move on to the next stuff. And this is just the kind of tedious part of learning theory, is learning how to identify the notes. But if you can learn how to do it, then you can totally figure out theory. And yeah, so that's all I got for you. Practice. Love yourself. Adios.